Hello, Charles Schwab here. I'd like to share from the book of Proverbs a couple of verses in chapter 3, and the theme, which in a sense is also part of my personal testimony, is God with us in a dark time of challenge, along those lines. All right, so here we have two verses in Proverbs 3. I'm reading from the New International Version, Proverbs 3, verses 5 and 6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to him, and he will make your paths straight. Back a lot of years ago now, it was 1998, at the end of that year, that my involvement on the staff of a multi-staff church came to an end on the basis that I had become unemployable not only within that church, but in any area of employment. That was a medical analysis of my situation. I had a psychiatrist and a supporting medical person, a GP. But the issue of depressive anxiety had dogged my life before, and in the 2 or 3 years leading up to 1998, I had become progressively more affected by depressive and anxiety illness. So, having been on staff of that church, a multi-staff church, having been on staff for around 13 years, mostly as associate minister, helper to the leading minister, involved with the others in the staff and indeed with the church as a whole in preaching and teaching and some Bible college activities and so on. I came to the end of 1998 and found that it was the end of a season. Now, behind me, or maybe you can't see there, but over this way, there's an orchid plant. Now it's the end of the orchid season. It's one reason why I'm sitting right here, so we can have this plant on display. But at the end of 1998, at the service of farewell to myself and my wife, because my term was finishing at the church because I'd become unemployable, one of the gifts, one of the ways the church showed their appreciation was in giving us an orchid plant. Since then, those many years ago, since the end of 1998, my wife has cared for this plant and nurtured it, and every year it comes into bloom, it keeps on producing more orchid shoots, and my wife takes care of them, Mavis takes care of them, and now we have quite a number of pots with orchids in them, and we've given some away to folks that appreciate them. But it reminds me of the end of the season, brought about by a health issue that was serious enough to do what it did. But it also reminds me of the fact that in spite of being very conscious of walking in a dark and difficult time with depressive illness, that I felt strongly that God is still the God who can bring resurrection and bring hope into lives and into my life. I didn't know what form that life would take, what shape it would take after that time, but I knew to pray, and I knew just to ask God to bring some sort of resurrection on the inside in my mind and understanding as to how we at a reasonably young age we're going to move on from here. We knew the call of God on our life. So the two verses that I shared here today are typical of the encouragement the Bible gives. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to him. He will make your paths straight. So some doors opened up over a period of time, over the years that followed, sharing with some churches here and there at different times at a pace I could manage, always in a sense to be described as voluntary ministry, because it's not an occupation, was not an occupation, but rather expression of our heart in areas in various parts of Australia where we could share. It's always a two-way street. Encouragement goes and encouragement is received. Encouragement is given and encouragement is received. It's always like that when it comes to the things of God. Also, a couple of overseas locations opened to us. One of them had been visited by us before, but they opened, and again on a voluntary basis when we could. We travelled and just wanted to do what we could at a pace we could manage, and to share in Bible schools or bring words of encouragement from the scriptures, and to endeavour to see people wanting to follow on with Jesus, become his disciples, and to walk with God. And to this day we follow that as the Lord opens and gives us strength. We're so grateful that we can serve God regardless of any other consideration. So I'm still affected by depressive and anxiety illness. It hasn't left. But over the years, verses like we've shared today have been a real encouragement. And I hope they can be an encouragement to you that in the midst of our situation, whether God removes that situation and changes it, or whether not so much of that, but rather the strength of God, the wisdom of God, the courage that the Holy Spirit gives can come and touch our lives and make a difference to us, and through us God can touch other people, and God can use you and use me, even if we're walking through a dark time, a time we would rather miss out on. God is still on the throne. Aren't you glad? And so there it is, just a little word that in our dark times, our challenging times, sometimes they last decades as they have in my life, God, when he's invited by us to show us the way, to give us courage, give us comfort, give us hope, walk with us, inspire our minds, inspire our hearts, God will do something in us, and God will do something through us. I want that for your life too. May God bless you richly, and may you be encouraged. And if you're not finding that you're in the best of circumstances, that's okay, because the best of circumstances is when we go to be with Jesus, when this life is over. In the meantime, the Holy Spirit will work a work in us. The scriptures will work a work in us, and not only in us, but because of that, through us, into the lives of others. Okay, thank you for letting me share with you. Now, I'm going to turn this video thing off. You're going to see a pair of big hands, and don't get frightened, but they're not as big as what they appear. Okay, thanks for being here. Click on like if you have liked it, and subscribe to this channel. And now here come the hands. Look at that. Oh, yes, that's the way to go. See you later. Bye.